Coming to you from the Spit Studios in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. This is the Spit Sports Show. I want to start this episode by apologizing for not being able to do Spit Sprint this week. There were circumstances out of my control as to where I wasn't able to film Monday night after the Monday Night Football game, where I typically would film. Apologies for that, but we are back just in time to make you guys some quick change with Spit's picks. We are 9-6 overall this season, with 2 straight weekends with just the worst possible beats you could ever have as a sports bettor. An all-timer happened this weekend. I'm going to start with the ones that I just picked perfectly. Chicago +1 was never a doubt versus Dallas. As soon as that ball kicked off, everybody could tell that that was the right side of it. Jets +6.5. I'll admit there was a little bit of doubt there at one point, but they fought their butts off to backdoor cover like I thought they might be able to under Aaron Glenn. Good bet. Pittsburgh against New England. I'm not going to lie. There was also a lot of doubt for me while watching that game. I actually think New England outplayed Pittsburgh for the majority of the game, but when you turn the ball over 5 times, you don't deserve to win, and you definitely don't deserve to cover, so we win that bet too. Now I get to rant for just a quick second about Rams +3.5. I'm sure you guys have heard from different gambling analysts about how they got beat by this, but man, if he makes the field goal, we win. If he misses the field goal, we win. If the snap is fumbled and the ball is downed, we win. If the kicker just picks the ball up for some reason, starts running, we win. The only thing that couldn't happen on that play is exactly what happened on that play. And good for Jordan Davis. He deserved to score that touchdown. He had his hand in another field goal block that game, but man, that one hurt. I felt like it should have been a 4-1 weekend because the Saints +7.5 against Seattle was just a bad bet. I feel like we've been good for one of those a week with Spitz picks, if I'm being authentic, where just one bet is like, what the hell were you thinking there? I thought Seattle wasn't good enough to be up or favored by a touchdown in any game, but clearly they were. So there's my bad. Week 4, I feel great about a lot of the numbers for this week. I feel like there are some teams sorely underestimated, and I'm going to start with one of those. The Bucks are getting 3.5 points at home against the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, I'm going to start by stating the potentially obvious to most, and that's the fact that the Bucks are incredibly injured. There's no doubt about it. Kalijah Cansey, one of their standout defensive players, looks like he's going to be out for the rest of the season. They are down 3 of their 5 starting offensive linemen, although Tristan Wirfs might play, probably not. He's kind of ramping up a little bit. He's their best offensive lineman, so it's going to be awesome to get him back. But Mike Evans went down with a soft tissue injury, like it seems like he's kind of due for every year at this point. And the Bucks obviously haven't played murderer's row of teams up to this point. They beat Atlanta, and then they beat Houston, who's apparently terrible, and then they beat the Jets. But I think Philly's offense has looked stuck in the mud for the majority of this season. And Todd Bowles, being the head coach and defensive coordinator adjacent guy for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, gives me confidence that the Bucks will be able to contain this Philly offense mostly. Todd Bowles has very good success against Jalen Hurts throughout his entire career. And with Vita Vea in the middle there, I think Saquon's going to have a tough time really establishing that run game, especially if Lane Johnson doesn't go. I think he'll be able to, but I don't know that for sure. And overall, getting 3.5 points at home is just too many. As I've explained on this segment many times, usually the home team gets 3 points, 2.5 points right off the bat. So they're saying basically Philly's 6 points better than Tampa at this stage of the season. I don't believe they are. At 3 points, I like it. At 3.5, I love it. I'm riding with Baker and the Bucks. Also, I think Baker's the best quarterback in this game, and that means a lot. The Panthers are getting 5.5 points against the New England Patriots in New England. I have looked long and hard across the 3 weeks of the NFL schedule, and I've yet to find a single thing that New England has done to be 5.5 point favorites against anybody at this point, let alone a Panthers team that is coming into this game with the most confidence that they've had definitely since Bryce Young has been drafted there and probably for a decade before that. They beat a team that I believe in a lot more than the common fan probably does at this point in Atlanta. Whereas New England, although they did outplay the Steelers, as I said, for the majority of that game, in my opinion, they still found a way to beat themselves. And with 5.5 points with the Patriots, that back door is always going to be open for the Panthers. I definitely see them keeping this game close. Panthers plus 5.5 is a very, very solid bet. I like that one a lot. A game that I do not think is going to be close whatsoever is Green Bay laying 6.5 points at Dallas. This has to be a full touchdown. In fact, I would probably lean towards 7.5 towards Green Bay's side. They have the perfect trifecta of motivation, determination, and just overall wanting to get a taste out of their mouths. Obviously, they had a awful loss last week to the Cleveland Browns that shouldn't have happened under any circumstances. They want to get their get back for that because before that loss, if we're being honest, the Packers looked like probably the best team in football. They got to get that swagger back real quick. Also, I don't know if you know this, but Micah Parsons is returning to Dallas. That hasn't been advertised at all. But it's an extra factor of wanting to kick the Cowboys' ass that I think Green Bay is going to use. Also, Green Bay just kind of has a low key rivalry with Dallas. It always seems like their games are either incredibly lopsided or all-time classics. I do not see this being an all-time classic with Dallas's defense being as destitute as it is and CD Lamb being out for this game, who might be the most valuable offensive weapon in the entire NFL. I didn't say best, most valuable. I think this is Green Bay by a couple of touchdowns. I'm going to lay the 6.5 without much concern at all. The Rams are getting 3.5 points, or sorry, they are laying 3.5 points at home versus Indy. If they were getting 3.5 points, that would have been my favorite bet, probably of all time. But they're laying it instead. But with Indy, it's really, really simple. And I understand that this might be shallow logic to some, but it's done me well in the past before, which is I'm going to bet against Indy because I don't think they're that good. I said this about the Saints last year when they got off to a really hot start. I said I think the Saints are frauds, and they were. Now, if Indy wins this game straight up, the covering, I'm gonna have to watch it go. I'm gonna have to watch how the game plays out. But if Indy wins this game straight up, I am not betting them for maybe the rest of the season. But until then, I'm going to. I think the Rams, kind of like the Packers, are trying to get that bad taste out of their mouths. They had no business losing that game to Philadelphia the way they were able to come out and establish the trenches early. They just lost that battle throughout the game. And I think the Rams are a very good and prideful team. I think they're going to come out trying to make a statement. I still don't think Daniel Jones is the second coming of who's he compared to the other day? That was really pissing me off. Brett Favre, don't think he is. And overall, I think the Rams are a much better team than Indy is, and they're at home. I understand that LA isn't the best home field advantage by any means, but it's still their home field. They should be getting, I think, 4.5. The line's at 3.5. I'm gonna hammer the Rams. The and finishing it off with maybe my favorite bet of the week, probably. The Jets are getting 3 points at Miami. This one is so simple. I couldn't believe that the line hadn't like flipped. The Jets are the better team. They have the better players. Right now, Tyrod Taylor and Tua Tagovailoa are not that different in terms of how they rank as quarterbacks. I think the Jets' defense is better, and most importantly, by a mile, the Jets have a way better culture happening in that locker room right now with Aaron Glenn trying to start a rebuild. Whereas Miami, they seem like they want to start a rebuild, but haven't yet. I think that coach is on the hottest of hot seats. I think that locker room, after showing a whole lot of fight against the Bills last week, kind of emptied the tank to get a big win. I don't see them coming back with that same kind of forceful momentum that they did last Thursday night. Jets getting a full field goal. I love that bet. Thank you all so much for watching. As always, thank you for following Spit's Picks so far. If you have a winning record. Congratulations. I want to know, what are your favorite bets for the weekend? What games are you looking forward to? Drop all of that in the comments below. I'm small enough as to where I can read all comments. Love doing it. Drop something down there. Please leave a like on the video if you enjoyed what you heard. Please subscribe if you really enjoyed it. The Spit Sports Show just at over 400 subscribers. Big things happening on this channel. And as always, I will see you all in the next one. Peace out. Love you guys.